I wish to remind you that we are meeting in a mini plenary session, and therefore any decisions will be taken in a full plenary session of the Assembly. Our subject for discussion today, the first item on the order paper, is a subject for discussion in the name of Honorable L.A. Schreiber on the need to professionalize the Republic's public administration to improve service delivery for South Africans. I now invite the Honorable L.A. Schreiber to start the debate.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Honourable Chair, the need for a professional public administration, where officials are appointed strictly on the basis of merit, skill and ability, has never been more urgent. Wherever the ANC remains in power, service delivery is in an advanced state of collapse. Every time the lights go out during load shedding, every time the taps run dry, every time a business shuts its doors, and every time a train stops running, the people of South Africa pay the price for the ANC's failure over the past 3 decades to build a professional, capable, and skills-based public administration. In fact, the ANC has done the exact opposite. Through the merciless application of its cadre deployment policy, they have deliberately built an unprofessional, incapable, and politicized administration. While Section 195 of the Constitution outlines a vision for public administration based on a high standard of professional ethics, transparency, as well as good human resource management and career development practices, ANC cadre deployment took a sledgehammer to this noble idea. Instead of building a public administration where no employee is favored or prejudiced only because that person supports a particular political party or cause, as demanded by Section 1973 of the Constitution, the ANC repurposed the administration to serve the party, not the public. In a democracy, it is indeed both legal and desirable for a governing party to staff political positions, such as elected ministers, MECs, or mayors. The same goes for political appointments to the personal office of those elected officials in compliance with the Public Service Act. However, what political parties are not entitled to do is to dictate that loyal cadres be appointed into the administration, including government departments, state-owned enterprises, and municipal administrations. Through cadre deployment, the ANC has completely erased the bright line of separation that is supposed to exist between party and state. Where the ANC governs, what was supposed to be a public service has become little more than a political party service. Repurposing the machinery of state to serve the party rather than the people of South Africa was the only thing that the ANC efficiently implemented over the past 30 years. As far back as 1997, the ANC told us that their plan was, and I quote, to extend the power of the national liberation movement over all levers of power, including the entire civil service, parastatals, education institutions, independent statutory commissions, and social institutions, end quote. Joseph Stalin would be proud. After all, it was Stalin who said in 1935 that, and I quote again, the old slogan, technique decides everything, must now be replaced by a new slogan, cadres decide everything, end quote. Tragically, in the South Africa of 2024, cadres not only decide everything, cadres have destroyed everything. And it is the people of South Africa who pay the price when a broken police service fails to keep them safe, when they lose their jobs because of load shedding, and when they are left to die in public hospitals. Cadres decide everything. But fortunately, the story does not end there. Over the past 5 years, the Democratic Alliance has intensified the struggle against ANC cadre deployment. We have undertaken numerous court challenges. We have tabled legislation in this very House. We have asked countless parliamentary questions. We have driven petitions and we have campaigned ceaselessly to mobilize the people of South Africa against the cadre deployment system that has destroyed service delivery. The DA's work on this issue has now ignited a rebellion against cadre deployment, including from officials inside the state, who are fed up with being overlooked and dictated to by incompetent cadres. First, there was the State Capture Commission, which confirmed the DA submissions that cadre deployment facilitated state capture. Then came the framework for the professionalization of the public sector, which said the following, and I quote, "Cadre deployment practices ought to be ditched in favor of a merit-based recruitment and selection system," end quote. But the rebellion against cadre deployment dramatically accelerated over the past few weeks after the DA won a constitutional court order to expose the ANC's dirty cadre secrets. Mere minutes before this plenary started today, a new code for ethical leadership in local government was adopted by officials from Kokta and Salga, which launches yet another direct assault on ANC cadre deployment from inside the state. The new code reads as follows: councillors should develop policies to distinguish between appointment of officials to political offices and those who are appointed into administrative offices in a municipality. The policy should clearly stipulate that those who are in administrative offices should not be political deployees, end quote. Since our victory in the Constitutional Court, the DA has been inundated with whistleblower reports from inside the state as officials rebel against the ANC. This includes from inside the Public Service Commission itself, which the Constitution designates as the custodian for professional ethics in the public service. The DA can today reveal to this House that the Public Service Commission has joined the rebellion against cadre deployment through a new report that will soon be made public. The report reads as follows, and I quote in full: "The fact that senior appointments are political appointments and the role of the ANC Deployment Committee cannot be ignored. The Zondo Commission was the first to unequivocally state that this is unlawful. Central to appointments, cadre deployment has been denied many times in the past, mostly based on legalistic arguments that the constitutional and legislative framework do not allow for it. The Zondo Commission, by contrast, shone a very clear light on it. The current emphasis on political deployment needs to be replaced by a focus on building a professional public service," end quote. Not the words of the DA, the words of the most senior custodian of public administration in South Africa, the Public Service Commission. It is crystal clear that the DA's work to expose and combat the ANC's capture of the state has triggered a full-scale rebellion against cadre deployment. Whether President Ramaphosa, as the former cadre deployment chairman, likes it or not. But the DA's work is far from done. I can confirm to this House that the DA is today filing fresh papers to hold ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula in contempt of court for failing to comply with the Constitutional Court's order that complete national cadre deployment records dating back to the 1st of January 2013, when President Ramaphosa became cadre chairman, must be handed over. The ANC would do well to remember that its former president and current worst nightmare, Jacob Zuma, was sentenced to prison for similar contempt of the Constitutional Court. Then again, President Ramaphosa already showed us that he does not mind freeing tens of thousands of criminals just to protect his fellow cadres from the rule of law. But before Mr. Mbalula dons those orange overalls, he should check his email. The DA yesterday submitted a new request in terms of the Promotion of Access to Information Act to similarly expose complete records of the ANC's dozens of provincial and regional cadre deployment committees that have collapsed service delivery in all ANC-run provinces and municipalities. The ANC has 30 days to hand over these new records, and all I can say is tick-tock. Chair, in just 3 months from now, South Africa's rebellion against cadre deployment will break the ANC's back. On the 29th of May, their once mighty majority will go up in smoke. Because even as the ANC has enthusiastically implemented Stalin's slogan that cadres decide everything, they forgot that unlike the Soviet Union in 1935, the South Africa of 2024 is a democracy. That is why the DA calls on the voters of South Africa to get rid of the cadres who hijacked our state. For in a democracy, it should not be cadres who decide everything. In a democracy, it is the people who decide everything. It is time to remind the ANC of this most basic democratic tenet. If you want to abolish cadre deployment from the face of this country, you only have to do one thing. On 29 May, vote DA. Thank you.
And now I recognize Honorable Komani.
Chairperson, thank you very much. The third cardinal pillar of the economic freedom fighters relates to the purposeful building up of the capacity of the state in order to deliver efficient services to our people and to strategically direct economic development in the country. To this end, the EFF founding manifesto envisages a state in which the key developmental ideas are incubated and delivered. This role of the state cannot be outsourced to private actors in the economy. The founding manifesto of the EFF says, and I quote, "For a successful state that seeks to drive real economic and industrial development and provide better service, an inspired, skilled, and well-compensated public service is required. The public service should be strengthened for a sustainable transformation of the economy. The ethos of such a state should be developmental and very strong, and hence consistent with the anti-corruption measures. This is emphasized because the task of fundamental economic transformation requires a strong state with the ability to develop a clear strategic vision and be able to implement and monitor the progress being made," close quote. In order for the state to be able to do all this, the founding manifesto says, the state's capacity to perform these functions will entail the public service and its servants to be properly maintained, serviced, and adequately remunerated at all levels. At the center of a strong developmental state should be a motivated, inspired, and well-remunerated public service that shares in the developmental vision of the country. This intervention should be coupled with an increased capacity to aggressively fight corruption and criminality within the state. The fight against corruption should not be a side issue, Chair, but a fundamental component of the state apparatus in order to increase public confidence in the state. In this context, the EFF will place a premium on strengthening the revolutionary trade unions movement in the public sector, who should establish a practical and immediate bridge through which the working class exercises its power over the state apparatus. Chairperson, the professionalization of the public service cannot be done in a vacuum. It must be done with a full appreciation of the developmental role of the state. This means that we must have health professionals and patriots whose sole aim is the delivery of the quality healthcare to the people across the country, pay no regard to their socio-economic conditions. It must never be run by people whose ultimate aim is to run down public health to enable the growth and development of the private health. The same with all other components of the state, Chair. We cannot have people leading the state whose sole interest is the destruction of the capacity of the state in order to enrich the private businesses. In the EFF government, Chairperson, shenanigans such as ones we are seeing today within a cabinet minister is strong-arming parliament to endorse the sale of the South African Airways to an entity that is not known, who has presided over the complete destructions of Eskom to enable his buddies in the renewable energy sector to monopolize our energy, will be things of the past. Conduct as displayed by this minister and others would never be tolerated, because all we know, the central role of the state is in driving the development. Chair, professionalization of the public service does not mean making public service white, as the DA refers to, as the racists, these people in the blue are referring to. Their fight against the so-called cadre deployment is in essence the fight against Black professionals in the public sector. To the racists, being Black equals incompetence and corruption, and being white equals competence and clean governance. We want the public service run professionally, free of corruption, and to predominantly represent the demographics of the country. Only an EFF government can deliver such a government, and not a racist and Uncle Tom's. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Komani. And I recognize Honorable Princess Butelis.
Thank you, Chairperson. May I please leave my camera off because my connection is weak, please? Honorable Chairperson, without a professionalized public service, there will be no service delivery to our citizens. It is really that simple. Sadly, with human resources in today's public administration in South Africa being characterized largely by cadre employees and nepotism, the core functions and ability of employees of public service to effectively carry their various mandates is severely compromised. This is not some abstract hypothesis. It is proven every day by the multitudes of service delivery failures, the sweeping corruption, and in many instances, the sheer incompetence of public service officials placed into positions that they are not adequately trained or qualified to occupy. The fault and responsibility for this lies squarely upon the shoulders of the current government. How does the current government correct this dystopia? It draws a line in the sand today, and from tomorrow, only qualified individuals are employed into positions into our public service. Regular training and upskilling of public service officials is ongoing to ensure that good practice standards are maintained and evolve as the needs of the day and technology advances in carrying out the mandate in public service. Public service employees are performance appraised through key performance indicators and are held strictly to account for their actions. If targets are not met, corrective actions is immediately implemented. Corruption is not tolerated in any shape, form, or manner. In investigation and prosecution of all individuals concerned is swift and punishment harsh. Our public officials must be guided by the virtues of servant leadership. This leadership ethos, together with the ability to lead and work in teams, coordinate projects, and think critically in terms of strategy, problem solving, time management, and decision making, is what is required to build an effective public service. Being at the coalface of service delivery and the interface where government meets the citizenry, public officials must hold themselves and be held to the highest professional standards, as although they are employed by government, their salaries arise from the taxes paid by the citizens of this country. With a heavy reliance on technology, the advances on IT and the Internet of Things, digital literacy is core competency and requirements for public servants. Training programs, upskilling, and understanding emerging technologies must be provided in conjunction with the necessary hardware and tools of trade. This will ensure that our citizens always receive a very high standard of public service delivery. Professionalizing our public service will enhance service delivery, reduce corruption, increase trust and confidence of the public, ensure innovation within the sector, and lead to effective governance and policy implementation. Public service delivery in South Africa is at critical levels of dysfunction. Government must take responsibility for this dysfunction and begin today with immediate corrective action in this sector. Thank you, Chairperson.